Original post, December 7, 2022. My fiancée, Sarah, and I have been together for 3 years. She's actually my first serious girlfriend since middle school. I will honestly admit I've been a complete POS to women for most of my teens and 20s and pretty much used women. I'm saying all this to explain how promiscuous I was in the past. Sarah knows about my past and she's grown to accept it. We met at work, and she hated me because she saw right through me, and after pursuing her for close to a year she finally agreed to a date and the rest is history. We've been living together for 2 years now, and I've grown incredibly close to her parents too, and she also loves my family. The past 3 years have been the best of my life and I'm so excited to spend the rest of my life with her. This weekend her cousin and her family are in town. She's really close with her cousin Lauren. I haven't met her yet. I was always busy for one reason or another the few times she's visited in the last 3 years. So I finally met Lauren and her husband for dinner at Sarah's parents' place. She immediately stares at me a bit wide-eyed, and I can't help but think she looks familiar. We're all being introduced to each other and Lauren for the most part seems to be acting normally, but she's still staring at me whenever she can. Sarah's parents then come in with Lauren's little boy who's 5 years old. I'm looking at this kid and Lauren, and the only thing I can think of is that this boy looks like a carbon copy of me at his age with some Lauren mixed in. I'm suddenly starting to remember that I took Lauren home from a bar close to 6 years ago. And I also remember convincing her to not use protection after I showed her my blood work. I'm just a sweaty nervous mess for the rest of dinner. I think Lauren realizes from how she looked at me and the boy that maybe I realized too. And an even more messed up part, I think Lauren was visiting Sarah the weekend I took her home. They probably had a girls' night out that weekend with their friends and I took Lauren home. So Sarah was probably at the same bar that night. Sarah asked me if I was okay and just told her I wasn't feeling well. I didn't go to work yesterday and today and just took sick days. I don't know what to do. Lauren obviously isn't saying anything. I have no clue if she was married at the time, and I don't want to ask Sarah because I don't want her getting suspicious about me asking. I don't even know how I feel about possibly being a father. I'm 95% sure this kid is mine. Looked nothing like the husband. Do I just shut up? I never cheated on Sarah obviously, but she knows how much of a player I was and it took her a while to get past my number. I don't know how she'd react if she knows I knocked up her cousin years before knowing her. This is vain and superficial about Sarah, and I love her to death, but she absolutely hates if something is considered trashy or low class. I honestly think it's possible she'd leave me if I knocked up her cousin. I can't lose her, she's literally the best thing that's ever happened to me. Relevant comments. Comment 1. I'm guessing a lot of the commenters on this are men. I'm a 52-year-old woman. The most important thing in a relationship for me, and for all of the women I know, is trust. Honesty, trust, and having each other's backs. This is why women sometimes can't forgive cheating. It's not the sex, it's the breach of trust. If you were my boyfriend or husband, I would want you to put me first before Lauren, meaning, literally, come to me first. Like, I have to tell you something that's really stressing me out. You know how I told you I had a lot of irresponsible drunken sex a few years ago? When I met Lauren the other night, she looked really familiar. I am so ashamed to tell you this, but I am pretty sure I hooked up with her in the past. I'm not sure if she recognized me but I think she might have. I felt like she was looking at me strangely. I was so stressed out about it I lied to you and said I felt sick. Well, that wasn't really a lie, because I wanted to puke, and I'm still completely sick about this. I can't bear to lose you but I can't lie to you and not tell you about this. Please help me figure this out, what I should do. Then let her go through all the stages of figuring this out with you. Let her say, "Oh my God, is that your kid?" while you put your face in your hands and moan. If you do what all these guys are suggesting, and try to do damage control, and go talk to Lauren behind your girlfriend's back, you are completely screwed. It's not the crime, it's the cover-up. If you talk to Lauren, figure out you are the bio father, and then drop the whole story on your girlfriend, there is no way she will ever believe that you just figured this out now. She will feel doubtful about what you knew, when you knew it, how you feel about Lauren, when you last slept with Lauren, etc. If you want a life with Sarah, go to Sarah and ask for her help. If she dumps you, she is only dumping you for something you already told her about, and if she got over it once, she might even get over it again. Right now, you are in the most forgivable, least guilty position possible. You have never lied to Sarah about your past, and you aren't going to start now. You did not turn your back on your child, or the mother of your child. You did not know. If this kid was your baby, you weren't informed at the time. If Sarah and Lauren are close, and Lauren did have a pregnancy and concealed it from the bio father, Sarah may know all about it and may be aware the bio father wasn't notified. Oscar Wilde once said, "Ignorance is like a delicate flower. Touch it, and the bloom is off." Women are insanely perceptive of micro-expressions on their partner's face. If you find out anything, and hide it from her for 24 hours while you think about it, she will already feel in her bones you are lying and don't trust her. She is probably still wondering what was going on with you at the party. If you do anything else besides go to Sarah first, you are most likely done for. Trust that your partner can love you enough to get through this with you. Tell her ASAP before Lauren comes forward and says something. If by any chance Lauren is passing your bio kid off as her husband's bio kid, she may try taking some defensive actions, who knows what. Or maybe Lauren will tell your girlfriend it's you, and that's why you acted sick at the party. Don't roll the dice. Go to her, throw yourself on her mercy, and ask for her help. Like others have said, if you and this kid share some DNA, the chance of him figuring this out in your lifetime is extremely high. Rip the band-aid off and deal with it now. Update 1, December 7, 2022. After 3 days of staying at home and feeling sick to my stomach with nervousness about this, I finally told Sarah late last night after my last post. Thank you so much because that post gave me the push to spill my guts. As embarrassing as it is, I cried from beginning to end telling Sarah and pretty much told her I don't want to live without her. She held my hands in bed and patiently listened about how I recognized Lauren, remembered our night, and how seeing that kid mentally broke me because I saw my future with Sarah jeopardized as soon as I saw him. She told me she's upset I didn't tell her as soon as we left her parents' place and to never keep something like this from her again, but she understood I was scared. She said she's not leaving me because I never betrayed her in the last 3 years, we've been together and we'll figure this out too. She said she'll reach out to Lauren herself and figure out what's going on because she's been with her husband for 10 years now and if she's my one-night stand from years ago she definitely cheated. We then had an even more uncomfortable talk about the type of things I've done in my past and wanted to know if there's any more surprises she needs to be ready for. Said she knows I was promiscuous and a bit of a reckless idiot, but we kind of swept everything under the rug when we got together because we both agreed we wanted a fresh start. After this fiasco that might have been a bad idea, so she wants to know everything in detail now, but we can have that talk another time. I don't feel great about this, but I'll deal with this hurdle when it comes up. Sarah has been home with me trying to get in touch with Lauren since morning and has been getting completely stonewalled. Finally, Lauren texted her too, "Please just let it go." Sarah asked her again if they could just have a quick chat or even if text is okay, but Lauren insisted to just let it go. I'm guessing Lauren realized I told Sarah everything. We don't know how to proceed from here on out. We're deciding to just respect her wishes and not pursue this further. Lauren also just changed her response to our wedding invite to a no-show. Sarah is kind of upset by this, but honestly, I'm fine with this outcome. We always planned to leave the US in a few years anyway. I got a lot of messages asking me to just shut up and I was honestly ready to go that route, but I think the worry was actually physically making me sick. Anyway, thanks everyone for the advice, much appreciated. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Now you are thinking about this correctly. What is best for everyone involved? You have competing moral imperatives here. The right of the father to know the truth and the well-being of the child, not in the sense you are responsible for the kid, but in the sense that you know your choice will affect the kid. I do not know what is right to do here, but you are not wrong to think that the kid having a better life if you never say anything is a relevant consideration. Does it outweigh the husband's right to know? Not sure. But ignore everyone telling you this is such an obvious decision because the father's right to know is clearly the only relevant factor, and he is that kid's father. Although he would also have the right to stop being so if he found out the truth. The best case scenario for the kid is that no one else ever finds out. Trying to achieve that best case scenario is a reasonable option. OP. Thank you for your post, this is how we're trying to look at it too. Terrible situation but trying to make our decision with the kid's best interest in mind. Comment 2. You will drop a nuclear bomb, and literally, life-defining moment on this kid if you ever bring this up to the husband. Don't listen to any of these posts telling you to do this. It's beyond selfish and moronic. In fact, it will cause a complete family implosion, and extended family implosion too. Sarah's parents will never look at you the same. The last thing you need is to expose all of this over a hunch you think this child is yours. Reddit seems really interested in you blowing up multiple families and a kid's life over a hunch. I'm going to break it down for you. You don't know that you're the father. You are just thinking you might be. In reality, you don't know that yet. This is 100% on Lauren. You did your part, Sarah now knows. There's no secrets between you, and she can use this information how she sees fit. Lauren's relationship with her child is her business. Maybe she feels she needs to find out, maybe she doesn't. It's not your role to interject. You are not this kid's dad. You don't even know him. Reddit is giving you horrendous advice. Don't take it. Can you imagine if you brought this up to her husband, he leaves because he thinks you're telling the truth, the kid is shattered because dad isn't in his life anymore, not to mention Sarah's family hates you for this, only for it to come out later that you are not the father? OP, you did the right thing telling Sarah. Lauren wants to bury the hatchet, and if Sarah wants to do this as well, then let it be. Do not confront anyone over this, you don't have all the facts, even though you think you do. All you know right now is that Lauren cheated on her husband with you roughly 6 years ago. What you don't know is if that child is yours. Don't assume that you do. OP. This is how Sarah and I are seeing the situation too. Update 2, January 5, 2023. I've had literally dozens of people messaging me asking for an update. Sarah and Lauren have been texting since my last update. Mostly Lauren apologizing because she won't be coming to our wedding. She also sent us some wedding and Christmas gifts, which was very sweet of her. Sarah didn't really push her for answers but left an open invitation to talk whenever Lauren felt comfortable. A few days before Christmas, Lauren FaceTimed Sarah and told her everything. Her and her husband were going through a rough patch in their marriage at the time. He had an emotional affair with a coworker, and they were separated for a few weeks before reconciling. Lauren met me early on during the separation when we had our one-night stand. She told Sarah I'm the only one she ever hooked up with during this separation. Soon after she realized she was pregnant, she reconciled with her husband. They had been trying with no luck, so just decided to raise the child as their own. Lauren said she's told her husband and it's caused some turmoil in their marriage and they're working through it now. He knew about this nameless faceless man, but seeing me in the flesh and knowing after the fact that I'm the one guy has been a bit traumatic for him and he's feeling very insecure. So, unfortunately, he never wants us to ever interact or be in the same room again. I was listening right out of view from the camera, but I couldn't help but ask Lauren if this means I can never see the boy. She just said she was sorry. She told Sarah she'll talk to her later and that was it. They've still been texting, and it seems Lauren and her husband will be okay with some time. Now we have to always coordinate that we're not coming to family events at the same time. Sarah and Lauren have already made plans to see each other though. As far as Sarah and I, we're doing okay. We had one pretty bad fight a few days after the last post went up. She wanted to know in excruciating detail everything about the type of guy I was before. Honestly felt like a CIA interrogation at one point. She cried and told me she wished she had fallen in love with someone else, which hurt a lot. She apologized the next morning and we've been doing a lot better now. I think we're stronger now, in fact, now that she knows everything. I'm also never ever doing that ancestry testing services all these companies do. I've also gotten a much better paying job that's fully remote. Sarah will talk with her boss to see how she can convert to full remote as well, which we think is possible. We might be leaving sooner than we thought. That's it. Thanks to everyone that provided advice, especially after the first post. TLDR, had a one-night stand with future fiancé's cousin resulting in her pregnancy. She wasn't cheating. Fiancé and I are okay, her cousin and husband are working through it. I don't think I can ever see the child. We are going to move away. Story 2, my pregnant sister-in-law is mean to me, but kind to everyone else. Original post, December 17, 2017. Using a throwaway just for privacy reasons. Sorry if this gets long at all. My sister is a lesbian, and married her wife a year ago. They receive financial support from my parents, and as such, have decided to have a baby. Currently, her wife is about 6 months pregnant, and the two of them are visiting for holidays. I'm in college, so I don't see them very often. Yes, my parents give me financial support as well, everything is fair and square, but I'm really excited for their baby. My sister and her wife had been dating since their senior year of college, and were friends since childhood before that. I'm 7 years younger, so I was kind of left out of the loop. I never knew my sister's wife until they got married, and even then, I was swamped with my first year of college, so I didn't really ever get to know her. I was really excited though for this trip, since we'd get some one-on-one time together. Our parents live about 2 hours away from my sister and her wife, and I flew in from across the country. We're all staying with our parents, who are not yet retired. My flight got in yesterday late at night, so I slept in. My parents went to work, my sister went to go do some shopping. My sister-in-law stayed in with me, but I didn't realize she was around until she came downstairs while I was making lunch. She's pretty obviously pregnant, and I haven't seen her since her wedding, so I was really excited to see her. She was not. I said hi, and went to hug her, and she backed away. I apologized, and she just kind of looked at me weird, and went looking through the fridge. I tried to make small talk with her, so I asked when she was due. She gave me a really weird look, like I'd asked what her cup size was, and then just said March and kept making her food. I said I was really excited to have a niece or nephew, then asked if she wanted a boy or girl. She sighed really loudly, said she didn't care, and moved on. My sister had mentioned that her wife had PTSD due to a previous pregnancy, so I worried that might have been it. I tried to shift the subject, and asked how her work was. She set her knife down really loudly, stared at me for 30 seconds, then said fine and went into the dining room without saying anything else. Throughout the day, I kept just trying to interact with her. Offered to get her a drink while I was in the room, she just muttered no, asked what she was watching, you wouldn't know it, it was The Simpsons. Said I was really glad she was spending the holidays with us, a very begrudging yeah. Really, I thought this must just be how she is. Then, my parents and sister came home, and she was super cheery and nice to them. My sister said she wanted a family name, and her wife insisted on a unique name. My mom pointed out that my name isn't very common, but it's also a family name, the same as my grandmother, and they should consider it. I said I wouldn't mind having a niece with my same name, and my sister was really enthusiastic about it. Her wife gave me a death glare. I just ended up getting the silent treatment. At dinner, I asked if she would pass the potatoes, and she didn't listen. I repeated myself, she ignored me, and then my sister told her I had asked for her to pass the potatoes. Suddenly, she was all bubbly and giggling. Guess I didn't hear. What do I do? Should I tell my sister? Directly challenge her? I have very positive relationships with my parents and my sister, and I want to be really involved with my niece or nephew. So I really don't want to go 100% no contact or anything. How can I try to resolve or at least get over this? TLDR, my sister's pregnant wife is weirdly cold and kind of short with me. What do I do? Edit, so, we all had breakfast together. I sat across from my sister, between my parents, with my sister-in-law kitty-corner to me. My sister-in-law actually spoke to me. But it wasn't all that positive. She asked if I was seeing anyone, in kind of a snarky tone. I said no, school was really busy, I just didn't have time, etc. She responded, well, not everyone finds someone. My sister tried changing the subject, asking my parents whether or not they'd gone to their winter home yet. My sister-in-law was so nice to them. She was saying what a gorgeous house it is, how grateful she was to have been able to take a vacation there with my sister last month. My mom is easily flattered, so once my sister-in-law got started, she started gushing about her, and it was just a mush fest. After breakfast, I offered to go take our dogs for a walk. When I came back, my parents had left with my sister to go shopping again, and my sister-in-law was the only one home. She asked me how I was liking college, and I said I was liking it a lot. I major in pre-dental, started talking about it a bit, and she rolled her eyes. I apologized for oversharing, and she said, no, it's fine. You just have a problem with reading the room, I guess. Then, she walked away. When my sister comes home, I'm definitely going to tell her about it. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Do you have any idea why she doesn't like you? OP. There was one thing I might be able to think of in terms of her wedding. It was initially scheduled on the day of my finals. This was prior to invitations being produced, just their idea, so I called my sister to tell her I either wouldn't make it, or the date would have to be changed. She was really upset about it, because she and her wife had wanted a winter wedding. The date seemed perfect for them, etc. I said they didn't have to sacrifice the winter aspect, just maybe move it a day back. There was a kind of big fight, and I can assume my sister-in-law got in on it, but my sister is the kind of person who likes to be liked. Think of her as a human golden retriever, and she didn't want to be mad at me, so we worked through it. Her wedding ended up being the day after my finals, which I was grateful for, and there's been no resentment or hard feelings since. My sister actually laughs at herself for being kind of an ass. Her choice quote from that time was, "You just don't have to go. It's just a test." I was my sister's maid of honor, and I didn't see much of my sister-in-law prior to the wedding. She'd gotten food poisoning from her bachelorette party, so she was kind of holed up for the majority of the pre-wedding hubbub. During the reception, I made a toast, talked about my sister and her wife's friendship, how we've just been waiting for the two of them to get married, they're a match made in heaven, etc. She teared up, gave me a big hug, and said she was excited to be my sister-in-law. I wanted to talk more with her, But some relatives wanted to ask me why I chose the college I did, so I went to go talk to them. I'm probably going to bring this up with my sister either today, or tomorrow. It all depends on what my sister-in-law is up to. Update 1, December 20th, 2017. So, I didn't get the chance to talk to my sister. When my parents came back from shopping with my sister, my mom started saying how she had the perfect onesie for her granddaughter. Before my sister-in-law could start gushing, I asked what my mom meant. She asked if I hadn't heard I'd be having a niece, and I replied I hadn't. My sister said it was weird, because she'd asked her wife to tell me once they'd gotten the ultrasound. Her wife had zero excuse, and had the most deer-in-the-headlights reaction. There was something that just sort of snapped, and I started crying. I felt kind of spoiled and horrible for it, so I apologized, and went upstairs with the dogs. My parents came upstairs, and my mom went to ask if I was okay, and my sister and her wife started shouting downstairs. My mom basically said that my sister-in-law does not like me, and that it wasn't really my fault, she's just bad with people she doesn't know, and took it out on me inappropriately. And yes, my sister-in-law was still pissed about the wedding date thing, which just made it worse. I felt really bad. Part of it wasn't my fault, but part of it was my fault, and apparently, my sister knew about both issues beforehand, and had given my sister-in-law directions to try and get along with me. They were still shouting downstairs, and I was kind of bordering on a meltdown, so I asked my mom if we could take the dogs for another walk. We went out the back, and when we came home, my sister had left the house to cool down, and her wife was upstairs. I spent most of the rest of the day downstairs, until my sister came home. She had obviously been crying, and was in a bad mood. My mom took her into the kitchen to try and calm her down, so I kept sitting in the living room. I felt like a bratty little kid again. I genuinely felt like I had messed up my sister's marriage and probably ruined our relationship in the process too. Everything just felt awful, and when my sister came out of the kitchen, she didn't even look at me, just went storming back upstairs. Her wife started yelling first, and they were fighting for a while before it got quieter upstairs. My mom, dad, and I went out for dinner, and when we came home, my sister-in-law was waiting for us. My sister-in-law apologized to me, saying she had been petty and rude, and that the wedding date thing had been a non-issue. I said it was okay if she was upset about the wedding thing, but I wish she had let me know. She said it wasn't that easy, since my sister would basically take a bullet for me, and it had caused them a big fight before their wedding. I said I had no idea, and that I was sorry to be the source of that tension, and I just wanted to be able to be a good sister-in-law myself, and be a good aunt. My sister-in-law got angry, and said I had ruined the opportunity for the first one, and she wasn't banking on the second one. Then, she stormed upstairs, and she and my sister got into another big fight. I felt awful. The bad feelings manifested physically, and I spent most of the night throwing up while my sister and her wife fought. My mom was really kind to stay up with me, and my dad tried to get my sister and her wife to get off each other's backs. I specifically heard my sister-in-law shouting, "Who would you jump in front of a train for? Me, or her?" And my sister responded, without missing a beat, "My sister, no questions asked." They got quieter after that, and my sister-in-law started up the screaming about an hour later saying, "I'd let all my siblings die for you." My sister slept on the couch, and the two of us went out for breakfast in the morning. She basically said that after my sister-in-law gave birth, she and my sister were going to separate. They would try counseling prior to the birth, and afterwards too, but if things weren't getting better, they'd be divorcing. I said that it shouldn't have gotten that far, and I was sorry for pushing the both of them. My sister said that my sister-in-law does this to all my sister's friends, and they've been fighting often. But, she clarified that the way she treated me was a deal-breaker. She said it might have sounded sad, but I was her best friend from birth, and she wouldn't let me not feel welcome like that. I felt really guilty, and started crying again. She kept saying she wanted it this way, their relationship was broken as is, etc. It's been tense and awkward ever since. My sister-in-law won't look at me or speak to me, and I've given up. My sister has been by my side a lot, and has amped up the good sister behavior 10x. I feel like crap, everything is really terrible, and I'm sure I'm going to be making another post during the actual Christmas stuff. Not a great update, but there we are. TLDR. My sister and her wife are separating because of my sister-in-law's behavior towards me. How does someone openly despise their partner's friends and family and then be surprised when they get confronted about it? Also, I bet a lot of money that if OP's parents weren't rich, her sister-in-law would be rude to them too. I don't understand what the sister-in-law was trying to gain either. Because if she was trying to separate her wife from her friends and family, she shouldn't be so nice to OP's parents. Anyway, that's all for this video. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.